Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity multiplayer tutorial. This video has been requested a lot over the last few weeks and couple of months. People have been wanting to know for a while how to either connect through Steam to play with their friends, or how to even play with their friends at all. Some people have tried putting in their IP addresses and it just doesn't work, and that's because you need to know about port forwarding. Some people either don't know, or they want to, have an easier way of doing it, or also maybe they just don't have access to change their router settings. So there's plenty of reasons why you can't just use the normal method. So I'm going to be showing you how to use Steam as a really simple way to have the data transfer in your game so you don't have to port forward and you can easily just play with your friends and invite them and just use the Steam API. I hope you're looking forward to it. Let's get started. So I think the best place to start will be showing you what I've got in my project. It's nothing fancy. As I said, this video is focused on getting the Steamworks working and playing with my friend across Steam, so the project doesn't really matter. But what I've got is from last video, the notification thing where I can right click on my network manager, send notification, and it'll send this message to all the clients and they'll display it on their UI. So when I start the game, if I go to back here, I've got this other scene. Let's just save this. I've got this other scene with a text component down here. And whenever a message is sent from the server, the clients will receive it and display it here like this. So they'll just keep putting their messages on here. And that works as it is right now using telepathy, which, if we look back at the network manager, is the default transport. But we want to use Steam instead. So let's get started with that. So you might recognize the Steamworks website because I did a video a few weeks ago, I think, where I showed you how to read your name from Steam or to, grab various bits of information from Steam using the API. And we didn't actually use Steamworks directly because it's written in C++ and we can't just add it to our project and have it work easily. But someone has made, or some people have made, steamworks.net, which is what we actually used, which has some kind of, it's just the Steamworks API, C++, but it's a wrapper in C#. So you can use all the same things, but with C#, and it's very easy to just drop it in your Unity project and have it work. So we could just download steamworks.net from here and chuck it in our project, but the problem is we then are missing all the mirror things that we need. Luckily for us, if we go to the mirror website, and we see down here it says multiple transports such as and then Steam. Now we're using steamworks.net. There is also Facepunch, but I've never messed with that. So let's go steamworks.net, and it tells us here you can get the release here with the latest version of steamworks.net included. So we basically get Steamworks and the mirror stuff needed all in one download. Clicking here, it's their release on GitHub, so we can just download the Unity package, give that a second. And now that that's done, I can click on it. And I'm assuming you already have mirror installed, right, the normal mirror stuff, because what this is doing is this is just adding all the extra things to it. So if I press import now and give that a second, now that that's done, we can go back to assets, mirror, and you'll see all the normal mirror stuff, plus inside runtime transport, we also have fuzzy Steamworks and then all the Steamworks stuff. And to use this, all we need to do is go to our network manager and remove telepathy and add Steamworks, or fuzzy Steamworks. It'll actually add the Steam manager, which is just for connection between our Unity game and Steam. And these settings you don't have to worry about right now. I can do more videos in the future on this. This is just going to be a simple setup. Make sure that your network manager actually has the transport there, and then if we save, it's almost good to go. I can actually start a host right now, and it will technically start a host using Steam. The problem is there's no easy way for us to connect, and there's no way on my Steam friends list for my friends to right-click join or for me to right-click invite them. None of that is currently supported. We have to code that. So we'll jump into the code in a second, but before that, one last thing to mention is under the network manager, I've got this buttons UI, which is just a game object, then with a canvas for this button. And the button currently has no callback, but it will in a minute when we get it to start host. The reason I'm not using the default UI is simply because that will not actually handle any of our Steam lobby creation callbacks, any of that stuff we need to do ourselves. So I'm going to write my own code and have this button called that. So just make a button. And the reason we do it here is so that we can just turn it off when we're in the game. So for the code, let's go to our Steamworks scripts and make a new C# script. And we'll call it like Steam lobby and open it up. So a quick warning is that this part might get a bit confusing. It was confusing for me when I was learning it. There wasn't much documentation on it. I had to do a lot of trial and error before I got it working. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible, so I hope you can follow along. But if you do need any help with what I'm doing here, just feel free to ask down below. But let's get started with it. we want reference to our buttons game object so we can turn it on and off. That's quite simple. Just reference to a game object, call it, I don't know, buttons. So obviously I've already got the code for all this, but rather than going down line by line, it doesn't really make sense. I feel like we should go in the order that like would actually be ran. I feel like that makes the most sense. So the first thing that would happen is, in reality, that we want to host a lobby, right? So let's make a function for that. We can call it on our button in the UI. So let's make host a lobby. And all we'll do is we'll disable buttons, right? As soon as we press host, we're assuming that we're going to be hosting a lobby, so we'll turn off the buttons game object. I don't know why I said game object there. Let's set active false. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to tell Steam. Steam has this thing called Steam Matchmaking. So let's say Steam Matchmaking. And we can create a lobby. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to create a lobby in Steam. And it first of all asks for the lobby type. So our lobby type, you know, take your pick. It's up to you. So you can have friends only, invisible, private, whatever. And this all just changes how it shows up on the friends list. So if it's friends only, then quite obviously only your friends can join and see. Whereas you can make it private so that it's invite only, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to go for friends only. And then how many connections are allowed to this lobby? What's the max members? I'm just going to say I want the max connections that the network manager has. Whatever I set in the network manager should be used here too. So let's make a start method. And we want to cache a private network manager. Let's just cache our network manager. So in start, we can say network manager equals get component network manager. So we've got our network manager. Then down here, we can say network manager dot max connections. And let's zoom out for you guys. All right. So whatever the max connections is also the same as the max lobby size in Steam. And that will tell Steam to go start doing this thing. But because it's obviously going to be doing that over the internet, then this could take however long, right? It's effectively asynchronous, but it's not actually asynchronous. We're not using async code where we await here, or we're not using coroutines. We're just saying do this thing, and then as far as our code's aware, nothing else happens. But then once Steam has actually created our lobby for us, it will trigger a callback. So we can actually listen for a callback for when the lobby is created, and we can then start the next part of our code. So to do callbacks in Steam, it's kind of weird syntax, but you'll get used to it. So first of all, let's say, well, if Steam manager dot initialize, if not, then return. So if Steam isn't open on the machine, then don't even try and do this next bit because you'll just get loads of errors. So we want to make a callback. So the way you do that in here is let's make a protected, it has to be protected, callback is the class, since Steam works. And the type you pass in will be whatever callback you're listening for. So we're listening for lobby created. You see there's loads here. So we'll just call it lobby created. And in start is when we actually need to make it. So let's say lobby created equals, and then this is just the syntax. As I said, it's quite confusing. It's a bit weird, but it's callback, then the same type, so lobby created. And then you have to call the create method, like so. Oh, it's being a bit weird. Let's see. Cannot be used like a method. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. Okay, so dot create. Now this is a method, and it takes in a func, which is basically a function, right? It's going to be, what's it going to call? This just means what function are we going to call when this happens? When a lobby is created, what do we call? So let's make a method called on lobby created. And then it has to take in a lobby created like this. And that's basically going to give us all the data about the lobby that was created. So you'll see here, it gives us this result and this ID lobby and so on. There's a lot here. This is why I said it's very confusing. But if we put in on lobby created into this function, then now we successfully have a callback so that when Steam creates the lobby, we will then call this function down here. Now this actually happens even if it fails to make the lobby. So let's say if callback.result, which is an enum, so if that is not, and then there's all these different ones, but the success one is okay, right? So if it's not okay, which is the one we want, then we want to actually return, and at the same time we want to re-enable the buttons. So buttons.setActive true. And then down here, we know the lobby was successfully created. So what we can do at this point is we can actually say network manager.startHost. So we're now hosting a game. Now normally when you connect to a mirror game using the normal transports, you put in an IP address as the network address. But when using the Steam transport, you actually put in their Steam ID. Now, we don't want people to manually type the Steam ID. We can just do it for us. Like, we can get the code to do it, right? That's the point of writing code. So we can say now Steam matchmaking. Whoops, Steam matchmaking. And on a lobby, you can have data. Steam will actually store data for you on the lobby. And I think this is usually just strings. I'm not sure what other data types. I'm sure you can probably use ints and characters and bytes and whatever. But we can store data on Steam. And what that means is, in the lobby, we can actually store the ID of the host. And by doing that, whenever someone joins the Steam lobby, they can then tell their network manager to connect to that ID. Might not sound that obvious right now, but when we get to it, it'll make more sense. So let's set some lobby data. And that wants us to, first of all, tell Steam what is the ID of the lobby. So what we can do is, we need it to be of this cSteamID type. So let's make a new cSteamID. And that takes in, well, there's a few different overloads, but we want to just pass in the lobby ID as a ulong. And that actually comes in this callback. So if we say callback dot Steam lobby ID, that's what we need. So we've basically told it now, this is the lobby that we want to set some data on. And next is the key. Now the key is, it's like a dictionary. So for every bit of data in the lobby, it will have a key and a value. So the key is how you identify it, and then the value is the data. So the key, let's actually store the key as a const so that we don't mistype it later. So let's say up here, private const string host address. Host address key equals like host address. That's going to be our key. And we can use that down here. So our host address key. And then the value. What's the value of this? Well, the value is going to be the person's actual ID. And it's going to be our ID because we're the ones hosting. So it's going to be our Steam user dot get Steam ID. And it needs to be as a string, so to string. Okay, and I'm going to actually just separate that onto multiple lines so it's easier for you guys to read. And there we go. So we're saying, for this lobby Steam has created for us, so this is the lobby. This is going to be our key, so the host address, and this is the value, our ID. So when anyone joins, can say, go get me the value in the lobby for our host address key, which will give us back our Steam ID. And at this point, we've made our lobby, but it's just kind of sitting there. Now we need people to join. So Steam allows us to do that either by inviting or by manually joining. I can go to the person who's hosting, right-click and join. And what those things both do is they trigger an on-game lobby join request. So it's a long thing, but we have to do it that way. So that's just another callback. So what we can do is we can say protected. Let's just copy paste this, honestly. So it's a callback of type game lobby join requested, and we can call it game lobby join requested. And what we can do is we can then go down to here and whoops, in the start, we can copy paste and we can say game lobby join requested of type game lobby join requested. And then we want a function for this, so we can say on game lobby join requested. And then we can go make that method down here. So we can say private void on game lobby. And it's a lot of typing here. Join requested. And this takes in the game lobby join requested, and let's call this callback. Finally, okay, the next part is to join the lobby. So this is just a one-liner, all of this just for one line, to say Steam matchmaking dot join lobby, and it wants the lobby ID, which luckily for us is in this callback dot lobby ID. So now we can join that lobby. Now that's joining it. This is all on Steam. This is all Steam stuff. Whenever we say Steam matchmaking, it's all on Steam. But at the end of the day, we just want to connect through Mirror. So we need to grab the ID of the owner. So the final thing we need to listen for, the final callback, is the on lobby entered callback. So we need one more. We need a protected callback of type lobby joined. Sorry, lobby. I said it again. Lobby entered. So game. Or we'll just say lobby entered. Then down here, let's see it again. Lobby entered equals callback of lobby enter. And then we'll create and we'll make a callback on lobby entered. Don't worry, we're near the end now. It's not much more. It's just this last function is all we have to write. So private void on lobby entered, lobby enter callback. So the final bit of logic, as I said, is to go and find their ID and then to actually join it. Now, on lobby entered is also called for you as a host, but you're not joining your own lobby in the same way. It's a bit different. So we're going to say if the network server dot active return. If the server is active on this client, then return because we're a host. But if we're not, if we're just a client connecting, then we want to say, let's go grab their host address. We want to go find it. So to find it, let's store it in a string variable, host address. And it's Steam matchmaking. Now, just like I keep Steam matchmaking, we had the set lobby data. We also have get lobby data that wants us to pass in the lobby ID, which is when we enter the lobby, we can get it from the callback. So callback dot lobby ID, but that's as a ulong. We need it as a C Steam ID, this thing from up here. So let's just say like this. Let's also put it onto new lines so we don't get too long. So that's the person's the lobby ID, sorry. Then we also want, as well as the lobby ID, the key. So the key is the address key. And then that will actually return to us, finally, the actual value, as we see here, which is the host address. It returns a string, going to be our host address. And finally, we now just need to say to our network manager to set the address equal to this host address. And then once we've set it, we can then become a client, so start client. And finally, let's just turn the UI off. And we're done. I'm going to have a quick run through the code because it was very confusing, and apparently I did something wrong here. So lobby entered. Sorry. So what the code does is we make a lobby, right? We host a lobby by pressing the button. So on Steam servers, it will make us a lobby of Steam users. And then when it's created, if it's not okay, then we stop. But if it is okay, we become a host in Mirror. And then we also set some data in the Steam lobby to be our Steam ID because we're the host of the lobby. So then when someone requests to join, they will join. We don't want anything else in between. This is where we could add extra logic for someone joining our lobby, but we're fine to just have them join. And then when you enter a lobby, if you are a server, aka if you're the host, you're joining your own lobby, you don't need to do any of this. But if you're someone else joining, then you want to say, go to that data Steam is storing about this lobby and go grab the host address key. And with that host address, set it in Mirror and start a client, which will then connect to this address using the Steam transport and then turn off the UI. So at the end of the day, it's not that much code. It's only 70 lines, and obviously that's including all the spaces and the bit at the top, and I can get rid of some of those usings and so on and so forth. Let's head back into Unity. I said before, this is going to be very confusing, and I'm hoping I don't lose too many people, but at the end of the day, if you really need this and it's a bit too advanced, you can just go ahead and copy paste it. I'm usually against copy pasting code, but yeah, again, this is just something to do some connection, and it's really confusing anyway, but at least it works. So if I go to the network manager and add on my Steam lobby script, I just need reference to the button, or the button's game object. And to be honest, this should all work once we actually set the button callback to the network manager game object to tell the lobby to host the lobby. So when we press that button, it'll trigger all that stuff happening. And the final thing we need to do is build and run. So let's build the game. So now the game is built, you see it here, but the problem is if I press Shift-Tab, which those of you who use Steam will know it brings up the Steam overlay, it doesn't actually work. And that's because Steam hasn't recognized this as a Steam game. So to do that, what we'll do is we will go back to Unity and we'll open up our builds folder. So this is where our build is, it's our game here. We can go back to Steam, here's my Steam. Obviously we're not playing Mirror's Edge, we're playing this Mirror project. So if I click Add Game, add a non-Steam game, I can then press Browse, go to the build and click on the executable and open it. And then press Add Selected Programs. And now it's actually recognizing my Mirror multiplayer tutorials as a Steam game. So if I hit play on Steam, it'll open up just like normal. But now it'll say the Steam community. And if I press Shift-Tab, the whole Steam stuff is working here. So now I'm going to show inviting my friend. So if I press Shift-Tab, you see my friend over here is playing the game. It's called Space War. That's just the default name for a Steam game when you're using Steamworks. If you now right click, there's no way for join game or invite game or any of that. But if I hit start host, the game will now go to the other scene. Then if I press Shift Tab, I can actually invite to game. I'll press invite. An invite has been sent. And if I now go over to Discord, you'll see he right-clicks on join game, and it takes a second. And then once it's done, he'll actually be in the scene with me inside Unity. So now to show you that the code I already written still works, what I can do is I can show you in the editor. So I have my scene here, and he's connected. You can see here, he's in the scene. Nothing's on the UI. And if I now right-click on my network manager and send the notification, so the hi goes through, you see hi here. If I now go over to Discord, you'll see hi has appeared on his screen. And just to show this is still actually working in real time, I can spam a message, right-click, send notification, and if I go over here, it shows up on his screen. So now we're actually playing a game connected through Steam, and it all works just fine. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, especially if it was useful, because I know a lot of people have really been wanting this and have really been struggling. It also took me quite a bit to prepare this and get it right. I still think the coding is a bit confusing. I tried to do my best and explain it. If you're still struggling, obviously ask down below, and you can get access to the code yourself on my GitHub under the repository Mirror Multiplayer Tutorials. I hope it makes sense, and if any of you have any improvements to this or any other suggestions for content like this, let me know down below. Thanks always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. But of course, before I go, I've got to thank my Patreon. Special thanks to Taylor Rustio, Francisco Lira, Liz Kimber, Jake Nixon, Benjamin Hilder, Sam Marcus, Matt Fryer, LN, Fabian Reno, Malvin, John Salig, David McDermott, Exit, Birdodai, Dustin Miller, Rack, Yoris Letter, and Renee. If anyone else is able to help support the channel monetarily, link to my Patrons down below. If not, there are links down below to other social media such as Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. If you could help us out by following on any of those or checking any of those out, that'd be greatly appreciated. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.